Welcome back.
And we're back.
Yes, we're back again.
Guess who's back again.
He put out a new album, didn't he?
He did. But
Yeah.
this isn't a podcast about music.
No. We maybe one day, and we're not experts by any sense. We would just gush about what we like.
Yeah.
But anyway, okay. I'm your host, your co-host, Mr. Jack Albert the third or second. I don't know what. No, I'm the second.
You're the first pick.
No, my grandpa was called Jack Albert.
No, it doesn't. Yeah, but that doesn't make.
Okay, who are you, mysterious woman talking to me right now? Who are you?
Hello, I'm Stephanie. And I'm the other co-host. All right, let's get to it. So we're going to talk about movies today.
Really? That's a new topic. Well, so last time we did kind of a three punch movie showdown between Civil War challengers and what was that third one? The Fall Guy?
Yeah.
Which the is really tiny, and that's how, so those of you who voted correctly, like me, you know. But yeah, do you have an idea of some of the ones that we've seen since then?
I think today is going to be just a smorgasbord of all the ones that we have seen. And I think, Deadpool and Wolverine was kind of the big box one.
Yes, the highest grossing R-rated film of all time currently. So I don't know if you knew that, but
I didn't, and I did my homework, and I watched the first two before I saw it.
Have you not seen them? We see. Could just have a theater.
Horrible memory.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna start with saying the third one was my favorite. If I had to rank them, I'd say 3, 2, 1.
I think we're in complete agreement, which was
that's a first.
That it's a rarity.
Take notes. This is history. We're making history here.
Well, it's definitely a rarity. So okay,
what are your quick fireball thoughts about it?
Of Deadpool and Wolverine?
Yeah.
So, man, gosh, how can I sum it up? It was nice in that it felt like a maturation of the formula where, and we talked about this a little bit, but I personally felt like the first film, while good, and I really like the director, I felt like it was trying to be a little edgy, personally. And it was trying to say, look how smart and cool we are because we're breaking the fourth wall, because we're doing this super edgy R-rated film, right? You like turn here? So that to me was, kind of an interesting big deal. But I felt like the trappings of the film, aside from it being like, hey, we're doing this unique thing, it honestly wasn't that impressive or different. It's like this no-name antagonist, and then there's this damsel in distress storyline with Vanessa, I think is the person. And I went back and I watched bits of it after we saw Deadpool and Wolverine. I went back to the first one, watched bits of it because we own it on iTunes, so I watched it. But then, yeah, I was just comparing it. I'm like, the storyline is so predictable and so cliche.
Yeah.
And the sequel, I felt like was way more interesting for a lot of different reasons. It started to up the ante with the stakes, with more interesting characters.
Sure was so good. He just had this charisma.
Yeah.
And this swagger that really, I think, stole it.
Mm-hmm. But I felt like, maybe it was more tame, but I think this new one just felt very mature and confident. And it knew exactly what it wanted to do.
Oh, also this podcast is going to have spoilers because I'm not really about tiptoeing around right now.
All right, well, hit us.
I loved seeing Chris Evans in it. That was a really fun surprise.
Yeah.
And he, wasn't in it as Captain America, even though it's Marvel. So I really was
Human Torch from Fantastic Four.
Yeah,
box one that they did.
Yeah, and I really liked seeing Jon Favreau. Just a little. It was kind of right in the beginning.
Yeah.
When what is Deadpool's name? I forget his name.
Wade Wilson.
When Wade Wilson, he basically went to Marvel and was like, I want to be a part of the team. So I really enjoyed seeing that part of the storyline and his like relationship to Marvel. Yeah, so I would say, yeah, I'm trying to think of what else my thoughts are. I know you and I, our biggest issue with probably more so like kind of the villain fish being like, I liked it.
No, I mean, I think
It's funny. There
I
was
don't know
something
enough
annoying.
about Cassandra Nova from the comics to know if they did her justice, but I do know that it felt pretty like atypical and well, not atypical. That's not the term I'm looking for. It just felt very kind of rote by the end of it, which was a little disappointing personally.
Yeah, and the ending like was like cliche, but also good.
I will say so. The movie has a lot of.
Channing Tatum was funny in it too.
Oh yeah,
That
was
was a
Gambit. Well, Gambit was a huge surprise seeing him.
Yeah, there were a lot of cameos that were really, really fun.
Mm-hmm.
So
Seeing Daphne Keane again as X-23 from Logan.
oh
was
yeah,
great.
that was awesome.
Yeah, that. I
Oh
mean,
yeah, I had to go to the bathroom during that,
oh, you
and
did?
then I missed it, and I was like, "Who is that?"
I was like, she sprouted up about 5 feet,
Yeah.
and she was also in the Acolyte. I don't know if people realize that she was Jackie in the Acolyte, so she's had a good year,
Yeah.
taking home a few paychecks for sure.
Yeah.
Which is good. She's earned it.
So Deadpool Wolverine, let us know what you think. It was a fun one. I think it was really well written.
Well, so I was gonna talk about that very
Okay.
briefly because I thought we maybe you and I didn't talk about this, but I think at one point I remember talking with people and going, for having 6 writers, it seemed a little sloppy in parts with how it was written. Just like it was unclear how he got to the Avengers timeline at the beginning. People were kind of like, "Oh, it's the device from the end of the second one." I'm like, but it wasn't ever really addressed.
It wasn't. Yeah.
Or
We like really missed it somehow. And
I mean, we were confused about it, and like
but there were some scenes that were they were so
overall, it's
spectacular.
yeah,
Like the opening fight scene.
yes,
With NSYNC's Bye Bye Bye.
yes,
That was fantastic. Really well choreographed.
yep.
And then one of the last scenes of all the Deadpools.
With
Spoiler alert.
yeah,
Kind of like just annihilating
mm-hmm.
everyone.
Yeah,
And I'm not an action person, and I really, really enjoyed those sequences. So
well, I think not just that like montage sequence with like a prayer and while Hugh Jackman and like
oh yeah,
and Wade Wilson are tearing up everyone, but also at the very end when they're like grabbing the generator and the like opera version of that song comes on and then like Hugh Jackman's clothing rips off and it's Deadpool just looks at his 6-pack and like nods at the script. It's just funny.
And actually my biggest issue was that at the end of the second movie, it was like they were together again.
Well, it was a big deal because she dies in the second movie.
Yep.
But he goes back in time and brings her back.
Yep, and he brings her back. And then the first time you see his like what you think his wife, he's all of a sudden he's like she's like, "Are you seeing anyone?" or something like that.
It's very clear they're split up.
And they're split up and there's no explanation at all.
Yeah.
And that really ticks me off because the entire point of the second movie, like the entire point of Deadpool is actually kind of like that love for
Vanessa. In the movies, at least. I think that's fair to say that.
So, yeah. So,
it undercuts
the fact that they undercut all of that, it's like, what was the point then of Deadpool 2? Yeah, you didn't even... none of Deadpool 2 would have even happened if he wasn't going to end up with her.
I also would have liked to see Cable in it again. I know that would have been hard to do. But he's such a big character in the comics, and he was such a big part of 2.
Yeah.
That, like, even just a little snapshot would have been fine
to
me. But, yeah, I mean, it was moments like that you're just like, okay, that felt really kind of sloppy and undercutting. Like you said, it's like, what was the point if they were going to do something like that?
So Deadpool 2, or Deadpool 3, sorry, Deadpool and Wolverine is
it's a great
cultural phenomenon. So let us know what you thought about it. We very much enjoyed it.
Yeah, really, really great stuff.
I don't know if it was my favorite movie of the year, but it was super fun.
It was super fun. Definitely see it in theaters if you can. Contribute to that box office success. The team earned it. I mean, can we just talk for one microsecond about Hugh Jackman? He's amazing. He's so amazing.
What were your thoughts?
Oh, I think after the movie, I turned to you and I said, there's times when you look at an actor and you're like, they were born to play this role, like just them. Like other people can play a role, but like they're doing it the best. And that's what I thought of him saying this, because it had been 6-7 years since the last movie he played.
Yeah.
Right. So when I listened to his performance and watched his performance here, I was like, wow, he didn't miss a beat, like everything about his character is spot on.
Right.
So that's why I was like, man, like he's so good. And same thing with Ryan Reynolds, in that like I have a really hard time visualizing who else could possibly play Deadpool in the future, if anyone.
Right.
So anyway. Yeah, those are my thoughts on that.
I'd give it an A.
A what?
An A, not an A plus.
An A?
Maybe an A-.
Are we doing letter grade?
I don't know.
Okay. Because I do numbers and stars, but that's me. Oh. All right, shall we move on?
Yeah, what else are we talking about today?
Well, in the realm of sequels and continuations, we should talk about
A Quiet Place 2.
That wasn't the one I was going to say.
The 3. Oh, what one were you?
Well, technically it's a prequel.
Oh, yeah. Day 1. Oh, are you talking about Inside Out 2?
Yes.
Okay.
Which one do you want to tackle first?
Let's just do A Quiet Place Day 1.
Yeah, to be honest, this is not meaning to, what's the word? I don't want to like reduce it, for lack of a better term, or just sound. I don't want to be reductive. That's what I'm trying to say. I don't have a ton to say about it, though.
Me neither.
Go ahead.
In my opinion, it was a unique. Sorry.
Traffic.
Yeah, it was a unique. Oh shoot, what was I gonna say? It was a very unique story about like something we know about, but we haven't. I like that it was it was a different perspective. It did pull on the heartstrings. It's got the main character has cancer, and so it's kind of just like this. How do you survive when you are, and it's not like she just has cancer, it's like she's in hospice. Yeah, so it's like, how do you survive? Like what are your choices? I really enjoyed it. I like the A Quiet Place series. I'm not really a scary movie person, and I think I like it just because I tolerate it.
Have you seen all of them?
I have seen all of them.
I wasn't sure if you had.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are great.
They're so good.
Yeah.
So
I think I miss when it was smaller, because that's the one thing that I guess if I can like just tap into why I'm less enthused about this, is that it just feels like I remember from the moment I heard they were doing this, I'm like, but why do we need to go back to day one?
Right.
Because the first, we've been at day one.
Yeah.
2 different times.
It was just not with John Krasinski and Emily Blunt. And I think
Yeah.
part of maybe why I was like, I wasn't so like, oh, we gotta go see this. Like, was just because I enjoyed seeing John Krasinski and Emily Blunt in something together. I think
Yes, they're great.
I love seeing how like married couples on screen are. I think it's a unique, just a unique thing to do.
Yeah. Well, and they're incredibly talented, both in front of and behind the camera. Like, that's the crazy thing about them.
Yeah, and the one thing that I did like about the first 2 movies is like they did a little bit more sign language. They don't really do that in this one.
Yeah.
But actors were phenomenal. It was a great story if you like the world of A Quiet Place.
And Lupita Nyong'o, who was the lead. I mean, I've loved her ever since I've seen her. And I think it was 12 Years a Slave was her first, like, big breakout role
Okay.
that people saw her in, and she's been phenomenal in everything she's been in.
Okay.
She was also in Wakanda Forever,
Oh.
that Black Panther movie.
Yeah.
Remember? Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, she's so good. So, yeah, just for her, go see it. Oh.
But if we're talking about sequels and trilogies and yada yada, I would say out of all of them that I've seen, my favorite is Inside Out 2. So far, I'd say that's in my top 5 movies of the year that I've seen so far because it was just delightful. Dang it, I didn't bring my phone with me because I was going to share my favorite quotes from it.
Oh, well, I can do my best.
Because I cried twice.
I can do my best to regurgitate them because I think I remember you telling me.
I would just say it's for everybody. Because Inside Out, you know, it's a really fantastic movie, I think, developmentally appropriate for children to, like, learn about their feelings, and I keep saying, like, Inside Out 2, oh man, if that would if I would have seen that as a teenager going through puberty, maybe I would have turned out a lot better. Uh, but I would say the biggest surprise for me for Inside Out 2 was, you know, the whole trailers about, like, oh, puberty, and so you're kinda like, "Oh, is it gonna be all about, like, just everything going along with puberty?" And it's actually really not. It's really about the duality of when you start to get anxiety, and I mean, there are children that get anxiety way younger than other but, like, we live in a world today, especially with technology, where, like, anxiety is way more rampant and prevalent than, you know, when we were kids, when our parents were kids. So I just really enjoyed seeing how how this movie portrayed to kids how you deal with anxiety, which, like, it sounds dumb, right? Because, like, anxiety is talked about ad nauseum. But this was
You mean
such a
anxiety?
yeah, because we have to, you know, but
Yeah.
it's such a unique perspective, and I'm kind of forgetting some of my favorite lines.
Well, so I remember the one that you kinda, like, took away as the thesis was, like, when they're again, getting into spoilers,
Yeah.
they're kinda, like, at the back of the mind or whatever of Riley.
Riley's.
Yeah, and Joy basically says, "I guess this is what happens when you become an adult." Like, you basically stop feeling joy or something to
Yeah,
that
like,
effect.
you feel way less joy,
Yeah.
and that just, like, broke my heart. Just so joy is my favorite fruit of the spirit, um, and, uh, maybe because I have so much anxiety that I just, like,
It
cling
spoke to you a
I
lot.
just, like yeah, I cling on to like, joy and what it means because, like, joy, it's not happiness, it's, like, this leap inside of your heart despite your circumstances, and joy can only come from the Lord, for those of you that are curious on the origins of joy, just in case you ever wanted to know, and that's something that I really enjoyed, I would just say from a Christian perspective, watching this movie is that they did a really great job of not making it, you know, political or taboo.
Can I just say too, I think that what impressed me the most. Oh geez, we've got a bus coming by. Or car or giant truck. It's gonna be loud here for a second.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go this way first. Yeah. No. Doing our little walk and talk. Um, so I think the thing that impressed me the most was how a lesser kids movie would have taken the whole, like, more adult emotions that they had of, like, what was it, boredom and anxiety and, like, there was a couple more, like, embarrassment, so stuff like that. So they had all these, like, different emotions and feelings, and they were pitting them up against the ones from the first movie, and it was kind of becoming this, like, us versus them thing, and a lesser kids movie would have kept it that way, would have said, "This is good, this is bad." And I was really impressed by the end that they actually made them getting into spoilers.
Yeah.
They kinda show it's more nuanced.
Yeah.
Like, they show that it's not just a black and white thing.
Yeah, they personified, you know, just this, like anxiety can be lessened as long as you have these other, like, anxiety may never go away.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
No,
doing some of the lines, but yeah, I just really the one that definitely spoke to me was like how anxiety may never go away, but that's just what happens when you grow up. You have less joy in your life.
yeah.
Um,
Well, I personally really liked when I think it was in the end, there was this whole, like, game that was happening, and Riley's having a panic attack,
yep,
and Joy goes up
hockey
to
game.
Yep. Joy goes up to the anxiety emotion and just says, "You have to let her go."
Yeah,
And that was so powerful, right? Yeah. Yeah.
over the weekend I had.
Oh
Oh
god.
man,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, it was such a powerful moment that
Anxiety has
there's
such a stronghold in the mind, and
as
they
many
did a wonderful job at like just showing that.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely delightful, wonderful movie. I am 31 years old and I learned something from it, and I like it's good to visualize too. Like visualization is such a powerful coping technique and like
Right.
psychological like calming technique. So
Well, and just going back really briefly to, again, why it was more nuanced and not black and white is, like, they showed some of the strengths that, like,
that anxiety.
anxiety can give to you in terms of planning and, like, there might be part of me that might be speaking from that because I was like, "This isn't so bad," as I'm, like, listening to this, but
Right, like
but I also don't let it, like, spiral, which
but
is what
of
happened.
course everyone's like, you could be anxious for a test the night before, and it's like, well, why? Because you want to do good, and
Yeah.
the anxiety, that nervousness that makes you want to study for a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah,
No.
my favorite sequel movie out of all the sequels of movies that we've seen.
I was really impressed. I
Good.
didn't expect to like it
Yeah,
as much.
yeah. I was so happy that you liked it.
Yeah. I was expecting it to be fine, but it was really great. Amazing. So, yeah,
So we
we've hit 3, right?
got through a lot of movies. Should we rapid fire some of the other ones that we've seen?
Okay, well, we were saying we were gonna talk about this, very briefly. Hitman with Glenn Powell, right? That's what it's called? On Netflix?
Yeah, it's like a popular Netflix one.
Mhm. Mhm. It was popular for, like, a month.
Yeah.
People were talking about it,
Which
and
is super common with Netflix.
Uh-huh. And that is the Netflix effect, where
Yeah.
Netflix still has the water cooler, like, people are like, "Oh, like this show and this miniseries and whatever." So I don't know about you, but I personally felt like, eh,
Yes,
it's
it was
fine.
super
Yeah, it kinda there were no real lasting consequences, and it just kinda makes you feel like, what was the point to all of this when you get to the end of it?
Yep, and I was also disappointed in the other Glenn Powell movie with the Sydney Sweeney. I was, like, excited that so in my head, I was like, "Ooh, this is gonna be another Just Friends or another The Proposal."
I think it was the same
I
director.
I think that's why
Yeah.
I was really, really hoping for, like, okay, just so, like, The Proposal is one of my, like, favorite movies in as far as, like, hilarious rom-coms, and
Okay.
Jax is Just Friends as far as rom-coms go, so,
Nice.
like yeah, I would say we're
Really
fairly big, Ryan Reynolds fans,
show off
and
holiday about that.
so we were I don't know, I'm forgetting the name of this movie now.
Hitman?
Jeez. No,
Oh,
it's the other one, the Sydney Sweeney, and
oh, Glenn Powell were in it?
yeah,
Yeah, what was
on Netflix.
Anything But You, right?
That's it.
It was on Amazon.
It was so subpar. I was hoping for some
Predictable.
Yeah, I was
His
hoping for
performance was
some
good.
really funny stuff, and, Hey, puppy.
Come on.
I was hoping for just some, like, way more laughs, and there was maybe one funny scene.
Yeah, I did.
So, that was a huge disappointment, so but the one thing I liked about Hitman, sorry, I'm, like, really going back and forth,
Yeah, it's
is
kinda
that for
confusing me.
Hitman, Glenn Powell did get to show off kind of his, repertoire
Oh, that's
of
what you're
person
I was like, was he showing up?
repertoire of personalities, like, his range of what he could do because he's, playing so many different characters being a hitman.
Yeah.
And it was really funny because there were a lot of homages to like other really popular films.
Well, and this is Richard Linklater. I think that's what surprised me. This is the guy that did School of Rock, guy that did like Waking Life. Like he's done a Boyhood. He's done amazing
And
films.
no, he
And this was like that's it. Like I just felt like wow, people were really talking this up, and it felt like it could have been a 40-minute play, which I think it might have been a play or something like that. I think I looked it up because I'm like that feeling you get. I don't like the feeling you get when you watch a movie and you're like, this could have been like a TV special. And then you find out, oh, it really was based off of something like that. They just stretched it out.
So as far as Netflix movies go, we went a little hard into Glenn Powell's
Well,
era.
well, so there is another one that you're reminding me of that we almost forgot about because that's it.
Okay, great.
Because Arjanis or whatever her name is, I don't remember. I butchered it. She was in both Hitman and this one.
Oh,
yeah,
right.
She's a fantastic actor.
Yeah, she's gorgeous.
Well,
I thought you were gonna say she's like got a fantastic body. It's like
I was not gonna say that, but since you brought it up, sure.
Yeah, Blink Twice. That's a fun one too. Kind of. I feel like we got some of the plot spoiled. Again, we already said there were spoilers in here, so sorry. Sorry.
You're gonna bring up what you saw before walking into the theater. Sorry-ish.
So when we walked into the theater, it had said, or when we walked into like before
the
building, it said Blink Twice, has some like sexual violence.
Yep.
And so it like the whole, if you've seen the trailer of Blink Twice, you kind of, you're basically asking yourself like, okay, they go to this island and like, are they crazy? Like what's happening? Who's the villain? And so when you kind of go and you're like, oh, it's sexual violence, you're like, oh, okay. So people are going to this island and then somehow they're like getting abused. And within, the setup took a really long time, which I wasn't mad about necessarily. But once we figured out like they were not remembering things and forgetting things, you're like
2 and 2 together.
You're like, oh, okay, so they're like being drugged, and yeah. There were a few good twists that I did enjoy.
The lead was great, and I mean, what a cast, right? Like, what a phenomenal cast. Really, really.
Just seeing the range of like Channing Tatum going from in Gambit, like in Deadpool. Like I can't even I'm like, was he just like, I'm just gonna dick around so hard that you're not even gonna understand what I'm gonna say.
Right.
Like, and then going to this, like really like sophisticated, defined, powerful man, kind of. That also kind of pleads this innocence.
Mm-hmm. But maybe has some layers to him that he keeps private and stuff like that. Yeah.
So if you can't do, like, if you struggle with watching, like, sexual violence and or even abusive power,
maybe stay away from this one.
Stay away from it. I would say is like, I was a little worried when I was like, oh man, like how
bad is it gonna be?
How bad is this gonna be? I mean, it was very
talk about that.
Yeah, it was very disturbing, but it wasn't necessarily explicit.
That's the thing, is that if I can just talk.
Yeah, I mean, it was horrific, but it wasn't like.
Well, to me, I think so. This was Zoe Kravitz. Her directorial debut. She's acted in a bunch of stuff, but she hasn't directed. And right away, you see a lot of the hallmarks of a lot of like actors turned directors, and that she's got a cast of incredible actors and she's directing them really, really well because she understands the craft. So like that to me was like, okay, good, but also very visually striking. The music was very great. But the thing that I was really happy to see and I want to see more of, because we talked a little bit about this with some friends, when it comes to disturbing subject matter or things that are like, this is really violent, this is really like abusive in some ways and often towards women, you know, that what's interesting is when you put a woman lens
Yeah.
on the subject matter, it tweaks it in a way that's way, way better, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's way better than a man's take on it because, like, I just if I would pick, like, 6 to 12 different men who would have chosen to direct that differently, you would have seen a lot more, and you don't.
Right.
Like,
But it was
but
still
what you see
horror.
sticks with you, it's just
Right.
not, like, explicit, if
Not
that makes sense.
Yep.
So, I was just really pleased to see that,
Yep.
and I wanna see more of that in movies because I think that's really important.
I really enjoyed the ending. The ending was a fun little, like, I knew that, like, aha, of course it's a woman director. Uh,
Well
women prevail!
well, it was nice because, again, I feel like a lesser script or lesser film would have kinda just ended with the resolution of the current plot, but how they turn it and resolve it was really satisfying,
It
I felt like.
for me, it had the same vibe as the movie Old, and I really liked the movie Old. So yeah, I Blink Twice I thought was a really good movie. And I was expecting it to be just kind of, I don't wanna say another, like, murder mystery type thing, like, like Knives Out, but it's like, oh, I love Knives Out. Knives Out is, like, maybe one of my favorite recent movies that I've ever seen.
Yeah, so
But
good.
then, you get Knives Out, and then you get, like, Murder on the Orient Express, and then, oh, what was that one that came out that was so bad?
Well,
With
On the Nile, right?
On the Nile, horrible, that was with, oh, who's Wonder Woman?
Gal Gadot.
Yeah, like, it was awful, but Argyle was hilarious
It was very
and amazing. Oh, did we see Argyle this year?
I remember us watching it a few months ago on Apple TV.
Argyle's that's Superman, what's
Henry Cavill.
Henry Cavill. It was a funny movie. Jack it was supposed to be satirical,
But
for sure.
I think a lot of people, because I saw a lot of, like, reviews and stuff, and people were dunking on it, and I'm like, "Oh, I think they were taking it too seriously." I was like, "This was supposed to be fine." Like the whole paintball scene is
Sometimes art is allowed to be fun.
yeah.
You know that, right?
Yeah,
So
as long as it knows it's fun.
yeah, I would say, Blink Twice, it wasn't something like On the Nile where it just they swung and they missed.
Yeah.
I've seen movies like that before, but it was very well done. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, we hit, like, 5 movies this time. What are your thoughts? Do you think we're kinda wrapped up for now?
Yeah, I can't think of any more movies that we've seen.
Yeah.
I feel like we've seen a few more.
We'll have to write them down and think about it or something.
Yeah, I should have taken notes because now you're just listening to us not remembering things.
Well, I mean, again, we talked about 5 new movies
Yeah.
that we have seen since the last time. Oh, I mean, is there anything coming out that you are feeling like
Well, I do wanna see that Blake Lively movie. It ends with,
yeah.
so we'll see that in a few weeks. Jury's still out.
Yep.
I've heard conflicting things about it,
Yeah.
and
Definitely.
I can't think of anything else. Oh, there's like a Christmas movie coming out of, that I was hoping would, um, um, take place of there was a Christmas.
Oh, like Red something?
Yeah, so, last year or the year before, 2022, we ended up seeing Violent Night,
Yeah.
and we were so excited for it, and it was so not cool.
It was not
It
good.
was not good.
It's boring.
One of the most disappointing, because we were jacked for it.
We were like, this is gonna be great. Santa's gonna be drunk and murdering everyone.
Yeah, and it was so boring and awful. So I'm forgetting what it was, but I just saw a trailer for, like, another Christmas one coming out, and I'm hoping
It's like
that it's the comeback of what I didn't get.
The Rock, Chris Evans, and
Yeah.
like J.K. Simmons are in it.
Yeah.
I forget what it's called, like
Pretty-
Renoir or something. Yeah, it looks.
Any movies you're wanting to see?
Well, definitely as a Lord of the Rings guy, there's Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim, which is a animated movie.
The War of the Rear.
Well, Rohirrim. I don't know how to say it, but it's that's gonna be good. And also, this being the year of horror, which I've only seen like a couple, and I'm way behind on a bunch of the ones that came out. There's horror movie remake that's coming out in December that looks great. So
Cool. That'll be fun for
yeah,
you.
yeah, not for you.
So let us know what you think about any of the sequels or trilogies that you've seen, or if this makes you want to see any of them.
Yeah, yeah.
Inside Out 2, yo. Even if you don't have kids and you're not a kid person,
Oh,
that was
definitely.
most surprising. I mean, like, just take it from Jack. He's not really like a kid movie person.
No,
He is a very mature movie person.
and I was impressed with it.
Yeah.
I thought the writing was incredible.
That says something, you guys.
Yeah,
It really does.
yeah. That's probably like our takeaway out of all of them. If we had to rank, that one probably takes the cake.
I'd say so. I'd say over Deadpool,
Yeah.
Wolverine.
Deadpool and Wolverine was great, but it was great, but Inside Out 2 was like
For
a classic.
yeah.
If that makes sense.
Mm.
Like it's right up there with some of the best Disney
Yep.
classics, which
Absolutely.
I didn't expect. So,
Absolutely.
all right, see, go see a movie again.